Did it record?
With Ben McKee, Brent Hubbs, Volquest.com. Ben McKee in Florida, in Gainesville, Florida, where the Volunteers, Ben, we talked about it last night. They need to be tested. They need to be challenged, all those things. All they did was get a 6-4, 11-inning win. When they rallied in the ninth, and it looked like all was lost. What a weekend for Tennessee. What a Sunday close for the Volunteers. How do you describe today?
I don't know. I'm still at a loss for words. It's a weird feeling following today's game because you had the double-edged sword of it felt like they were going to lose the first 7 innings as they were getting no hit, and then Drew Gilbert ropes one off the wall in right center, and that really seemed to turn the tide. And Tony Vitello told me after the game that it kind of let out a deep breath when Drew was able to get that hit, and then the flip side of the other sword of feeling like they were going to lose when they were being no hit. I mean, I also didn't feel like they were going to lose in the ninth inning. They're trailing in the 11th. It just never really feels like they're going to lose until they actually lose, which has not happened very often this season. But a lot of different people deserve credit today. Drew Gilbert for getting the first hit. Jarrell Ortega, that's a big hit that will probably be forgotten about just a little bit. Solo home run to lead off the ninth inning and really spark some momentum. You had several guys get on base. I can't even remember off the top of my head, but Christian Moore ultimately comes up to bat and hits a 2-out single to score 2 runs and tie the game after Evan Russell hits a big single to load the bases. Just incredible composure there from Christian Moore in the ninth to tie it with 2 outs and down 2. And then he comes back in the 11th inning and hits an absolute bomb to left center to give Tennessee the lead, and that proved to be a big win. So you had a lot of guys step up at the plate at the end of the game. And then on the mound, Drew Beam didn't look like the typical Drew Beam that we've come to know, but the guys after him, Will Mabry, Mark McLaughlin, Redmond Walsh, were fantastic, just calming the storm until they could get the bats going.
Yeah, we'll get to the pitching in just a second because there's plenty to talk about there, not just today, but the entire weekend. But this was a team a year ago that found every way to win, it seemed like, in the late innings. Whatever rally, they were never out of it. You wondered if this team could have that kind of magic. And we don't know. This is just one game. They haven't had to have this kind of magic all year long like last year's team did. But how big is it for this team to have one of these moments? Because they've been on cruise control. I mean, let's face it, when you're 17-1 in the SEC, you're not winning a dozen games in your last at bat. How important is it for this team to have a moment like that, to have one of these type games and to have one of these type of feelings or moments, if you will?
It's huge, Brent. I mean, for the same reasons that we discussed last night after the game. Just they are going to be put in these type of situations all throughout the rest of the season if they want to win a national title. If they're going to win a national title, they're going to have to continue to succeed in these moments. And you're right, this feels like the first one. The only one that I can really think of that comes close is Jordan Beck hitting the grand slam a couple of weeks ago against Missouri when Jordan was stepping to the plate with the bases loaded. It just felt like Tennessee was about to have one of those moments like last season. And then today, a big moment that you had multiple Christian Moore, 2 big hits that I mentioned. Jarrell Ortega leading up the ninth with a solo homer to get it going. I thought that if Drew Gilbert or Jordan Beck, Trey Lipscomb didn't get a hit in that 7th inning, I thought they were going to get no hit. I thought it was boomer bust in that inning. Drew Gilbert hits a 1-out triple off the wall in right center that was almost a home run. So it's very important that they have these moments for the same reasons we've been discussing. They're going to face more of these moments moving forward. And Tony Vitello talked about that after the game, and he broke it down more from a coach's standpoint of having to intentionally walk guys, having to bunt, having to defend the bunt, runners on first and third, and communicating signs with the infielders to put a play on. Just things like that, the game within the game. They haven't had a ton of experience with that in late game situations. So it's big for that reason.
So Tennessee gets seven hits after the 7th inning, or starting in the 7th inning, and then they come back and win. Christian Moore, the eighth hole hitter, is the big hero here with 4 RBIs. But the other hero to me is Redmond Walsh, and I know he got himself into some trouble on his own accord at times. But his ability to get out of that jam in the 9th and then again in the 10th to give Tennessee's bats a chance to win. I mean, that was big time stuff from Redmond Walsh coming off of a brief outing on Friday. I mean, he goes 52, I think, pitches today. That's an extended work for a closer, and he was good in the 11th, better than in the 11th than he was in the 9th and the 10th, probably.
Yeah, I meant to mention Redmond Walsh in my last answer when I was talking about all the hitters that came up with big time plays. I mean, Redmond Walsh was just as big on the mound as he has been this season. Think of Ole Miss about a month ago on that Sunday win. And then throughout his career, he's been phenomenal in clutch situations. And it's really weird because he doesn't have overpowering stuff. And it seems like he pitches better when there are runners on base. I mean, he plunks the guy to lead off the inning, walks the guy to lead off the inning as well, I believe. And he just comes back with runners on base and just works his way out of jams. I mean, having the game-winning run on third, bottom of the ninth, bottom of the 10th, whatever it was, and being able to get out of that situation is just absolutely huge, absolutely huge. So nothing that we haven't seen from Redmond Walsh before, but kind of fun to see it once again because the 8-2 and 15-4 wins are starting to get a little boring, if I do say so myself.
Well, there was nothing boring about baseball this weekend when you look at it. I mean, Tennessee was in total control Saturday night, as we talked about around the horn last night with that win. But it was a really good baseball game. And you look at this 29 innings of work. Tennessee gives up 6 runs, 11 hits. They score 17 runs, get 22 hits. This was a pretty well-played series overall. Florida was challenging to Tennessee's pitchers or to Tennessee's hitters, at the plate. And a good series. I think this one carries a little more, is a nice reset for Tennessee, I guess is what I'm saying, as they move forward down the closing stretch here. First time Florida's been swept at home in nearly 2 decades, I think, or something stupid like that. This doesn't happen often for Tennessee to come down there and flex their muscle as the number 1 team in the country. There's no doubt walking out of Gainesville this Sunday afternoon, they are the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. Even if they had lost today, I mean, Tennessee's still by far the number 1 team in the country right now. And I believe it's 2006, the last time Florida was swept at home in SEC play. 2013, I believe, the last time that they were just swept in general at home. Just pretty ridiculous stats right there. Tennessee, just the 3rd sweep ever in Gainesville, 1971, I believe, and then 2001 or 1976, something like that, in the 70s, and then in 2001. So I hope fans don't take this for granted because this doesn't happen. Not only just for Tennessee, the teams don't come to Florida and play this baseball team and have as much success as Tennessee had this weekend. And I think it'll really pay them dividends down the road because you're right. It was good baseball this weekend. Trey Lipscomb had a couple throws today that he would like to have back, but Luke Lipsius dropping a ball Saturday at first, although Ortega didn't really help him out on the throw. Little things, couple things here and there, but nothing major. It was pretty much clean baseball the entire weekend. And, Monday, Tuesday, when we sit back and reflect on the weekend, I think one thing that's going to stand out to me is that Florida was 5th in the country entering the weekend in home runs. And I think they ended up with just one, the one that they hit today. And that is truly impressive. And it wasn't even the guy from the heart of the lineup. 2 through 5 is really what kills teams from Florida's lineup. And it was a freshman coming off Tommy John who was DHing because he can't throw a baseball yet. His 3rd plate appearance, big-time freshman prospect coming out of high school, probably would have been drafted had he not had Tommy John. He ropes one to center off of Drew Beam. He's the guy that gets the home run, not the heart of the lineup that had hit so many home runs this season. So Tennessee pitched well. Drew Beam had his first freshman outing, but even I think you can take some positives away from that. He didn't have it at all in the first inning. He struggled with his command. He still battled through, calmed the storm a little bit in order to give his team a chance, and Tennessee ultimately won. So for the most part, really great pitching for Tennessee. They hit the ball well, maybe too sporadic, long droughts in between the big innings, but as long as you get the job done, that's all that matters.
Well, and there would have been a second home run had it not been for Christian Moore at the end of the game on just a terrific catch to close that game out. All right, Ben, so Tennessee leaves Gainesville with a sweep. They're in total command in the East, obviously, still in command in overall, 3 games, I think, ahead of Arkansas or something like that as they enter this week. Tony Vitello's back. There's no drama there. The only question now that Tony Vitello is going to get is if Chase Dollander is ready to go, what are you going to do with your starting rotation? That question that we've talked about a month ago that was coming finally seems to be coming. That's the only real question mark for this baseball team as they head into next weekend and they take on Auburn.
Yeah, and I am glad that I don't have to come up with a solution to that problem, if you want to call it a problem. Those are four big league arms. They are four guys who would start on Friday night for just about anybody in the country, each and every single one of them, and you have three spots. Now, I don't think it's as big of a ordeal or situation as maybe it seems in the moment. There's really only a month left in the season, in the regular season. Four more weekends: Auburn, Kentucky, and State and Georgia. Four more weekends of three games, and then you get into Hoover, where you're going to need a fourth starter. You get into regional play, where you need a fourth starter. Super regional, normal college baseball, but then Omaha, you're going to need a fourth starter. So I think it's just important to make sure you get Chase Burns back on track. Make sure Drew Beam, after today, gets back to being Drew Beam. Make sure Chase Dollander is 100% healthy. Make sure Blake Tidwell is 100% healthy. Have those guys ready to go by the end of the month. Whatever your decision you make, so be it. Just have all four of them ready to roll when you get to Hoover. So I do think it's going to be made a bigger deal than maybe it actually is, just because there's a month left in the season. But it's still certainly an interesting problem for Tennessee to have.
Well, and at this point, we're all looking for a talking point other than to say, hey, Tennessee won, because all they do is win, regardless of situation. And today, Tennessee won in an old school fashion. They won like they won a year ago after handling Florida convincingly on Friday and Saturday. They rally into ninth for three to tie it up, and they win it in extra innings. Full coverage from Gainesville. Ben's had great coverage for you all weekend long. Going to continue that out. Have the 3-2-1 coming up for you Monday. Extra innings as well. Lots of stuff coming up on the number one ranked Tennessee baseball team as they leave Florida, a 3-game winner, another sweep in conference play. That's going to do it for this edition Around the Horn. He's Ben McKee. I'm Brent Hubbs, Volquest.com.